Alright, I just got done watching the Xbox Games event that was held earlier this morning, and I'm gonna give my thoughts, alright? I know, I speak for everyone when I say that I was really, looking forward to this event and hoping that Microsoft would bring out the big guns. In fact, they were really touting this event as being a huge thing. And it was very underwhelming, to say the least. And that's not me, that's not me hating on it. I mean, a lot of people felt that way. There was, just looking at the comments from, the live stream event that was being held at the time, a lot of people, started tuning out about halfway through the show, which wasn't really a good sign. So, I'm not going to go through every single thing that went on in this event, like I did with the previous videos regarding these reveals. I'm just going to go through the stuff that I thought was particularly interesting. I'm going to give you guys my thoughts. Now, in addition to this event, we're also going to discuss a few other sort of next-gen news that has come out since then, because rather than do a video every single time something gets revealed, I'd rather just kind of cram it all into one video and give you guys my thoughts on it here. So that's what we're going to be doing, alright? But let's start off with the Xbox Games event. This was the big showcase that Microsoft was touting. This was their direct answer to sort of the, I want to say the disappointments, that people had with the original Series X gameplay event, which I think was held back in May. If I'm remembering correctly. So a lot of people had issues with that event in particular, saying, well, it's not really gameplay, and the games that, you're showing aren't really that impressive visually. To which the response was, hey, these are third-party games being developed for multiple, consoles and platforms, so you gotta wait for this exclusive reveal event of all of Microsoft's first-party games, which that was today. Now, in between sort of that event and this event that we had, Sony had come out and actually revealed the PlayStation 5 and had their event, and they set the bar pretty relatively high, I would say. The games that they showed, not all of them were launch titles, or some of them were even a couple years out, and yes, some of them were even third-party games, but it was an impressive showing, and you actually got to see gameplay, tangible gameplay, for a lot of their games. So it was a bit interesting. I wanted to see how Microsoft was going to answer to that. And yeah, today's event was really underwhelming, to say the least. But we're going to get into it here. They opened it with Halo Infinite. This was the big thing that everybody wanted to see, was how was Halo Infinite going to look and play. And I appreciate the direction that 343 is taking the Halo series in. With Infinite, it's going to be more about exploration, and I think this is going to lend a different feel to the straight, linear corridor-to-corridor shooting that Halo has sort of always, or relatively been like for the recent years. I think Halo 4 and Halo 5 Guardians were relatively, straightforward. Those were games where it was sort of just level-by-level basis, where you have cutscenes in the middle, breaking it up in between. So this game, they're sort of going back to, people say, the grassroots, like Halo 1, Halo 2, where you have exploration and these large battles and stuff. So this could actually prove interesting. Now, the particular gameplay that we saw was not interesting, The graphics definitely did not impress, and I was surprised because when they first showed the footage on screen, everything's being rendered in real time, keep that in mind, all the cutscenes and stuff. And I knew immediately from the first frame that they showed, all right, this is a reduction in quality from the CGI trailer that they claim was in engine, or I think they might even said it had been running in real time, but I'm not sure on that. But this is a reduction in quality from the original CGI trailer that we saw. So it was just something I noticed right away. I was like, okay, the graphics here aren't as impressive. Now, I did go back and watch the gameplay in the 4K video upload that Microsoft did on YouTube. Keep in mind that this event was only in 1080p 60 frames, which is a bit interesting. You can stream in 4K on YouTube. YouTube allows this, so I'm actually surprised that Microsoft didn't have a full 4K stream, especially because they're more, they seem to care a lot more about supporting 4K high resolution and all these different multimedia features than Sony does. So it was a bit interesting to see that the stream was only 1080p, but it didn't really help the visuals. And I did watch it in 4K, and things looked a little bit better. You know, you could definitely see some of the texture detail on some of the faces and whatnot, but it still looked last gen to me. Like, Halo Infinite's gameplay looked like it was running on an Xbox One X versus an Xbox Series X. I didn't really see any major signs of anything groundbreaking or next gen, stylized for next gen at all. The shadows had, the far distant shadows didn't really appear that high resolution. You saw some breakups and artifacts, especially on some of the pillars and whatnot. The texturing, I saw some stair stepping on some of the more minute details of the texturing. And even the facial animations, and overall how the character models looked weren't really so impressive. And this is especially evident after, for me personally, I just got done playing Death Stranding a few weeks ago. And, that's a PS4 game, that runs 30 frames per second on the standard PS4. And the character models in that are just, like, breathtaking. It looks so hyper-realistic. And it looks better than anything I saw with the character models in Halo Infinite. Granted, they're very different games and very different styles, but these are open-world games, that are sort of pushing the boundaries visually, and that's on a current-gen machine. And a lot of people were even pulling comparisons to, graphics like Doom Eternal, which people thought Doom Eternal looked a lot better than Halo Infinite's graphics. Now, I tend to not care about graphics so much. I used to be, get caught up in all the hype. Oh gosh, look how pretty everything is, The gameplay of Halo Infinite, which is at the core, it looked perfectly fine. It looked fun even. I like the elements of the grappling hook, them adding it in there. You can bring objects to you and then throw it at different enemies and stuff. So that seems pretty cool. I really am curious how that's going to change up how you approach combat, and if you can find like these little interactable things within the environment to help lend you an upper hand in combat situations, I think it could be pretty interesting. But it is standard Halo. It doesn't look like they went in and changed anything. It looks like Halo with a grappling hook, and it's just, depending on what you prefer. I think if you don't care for Halo Infinite's gameplay is not going to change your mind. And I was really hoping that it would. I was hoping that it would sort of, redo everything, and it would have completely different feeling gunplay, and we would see just a major overhaul and innovation. And 343 has said that this is sort of a spiritual reboot, going back to the roots of Halo 1 and 2, those type of style games, and them sort of going, trying to respect the elements in the core of those past games. So we're just going to have to wait and see it in our hands. Now, I have never actually liked any of 343's Halo games in terms of the campaigns. The storytelling, I thought, has just taken a major dive. They're mostly quick 4 to 5 hour campaigns, flash in the pan, and the stories are fucking stupid. And they always usually end on a cliffhanger. I enjoyed what 343 has done to the multiplayer, though, and I will openly say that. I really do like what 343 has done with the multiplayer, and I enjoyed Halo 5's multiplayer, and I enjoyed Halo 4's multiplayer more so than Halo 5, but all the multiplayers I enjoyed. So I think this is going to be a game. I think the campaign is definitely going to be longer because it has this sort of exploration element to it. So you're going to be spending more hours in the campaign, which I like. But I'm going to have to see how multiplayer is, and I'm hoping that the multiplayer remains fun. But, in terms of it being a next-gen game, I wasn't impressed by what I saw. I was just like, oh, this just looks like Halo, with an exploration, a big open area to explore. It just looks like Halo. So we're going to have to wait and see how the full game is in our hands. A lot of people say, oh, it's a demo, and if it's not a demo, it's a beta. A lot of people want to throw out these different things. The game's coming out in like 3 or 4 months. If this was an earlier build, why show this? And if this isn't running on Series X, then why advertise it as a Series X game, a showcase event specifically for that console? It's like, it wasn't, again, it just wasn't impressive. And this was like the main thing that needed to be impressive. This is going to be the game that you're going to have people run out and buy Xbox Series X on launch for. And again, if you don't care for Halo, Infinite's gameplay is not going to change your mind. So, moving on from that, they announced a new Forza Motorsport, Forza 8, this will be. I was actually surprised. I was expecting this to be a launch title for the Series X as well, but Microsoft has said that this is in early development, and they showed off some in-engine footage. It looked impressive, but it wasn't really gameplay. At least with Gran Turismo 7 on the PS5, they showed you actual gameplay of the game. And, that looked visually impressive. This looks visually impressive as well, but what we got was a trailer. I've always liked the Forza games. I have felt that the Forza games have been consistently great, although I wasn't a huge fan of Horizon 4. I didn't like Horizon 4, and Forza 7 was really good. It just had a lot of content. It was a huge game. So I was expecting actually Forza 8 to be a launch title for Series X, but it's not. It's in early development, which is fine, because Forza has been sort of this annual franchise. They released Forza Horizon, then they release a Forza Motorsport game, then they go back to Horizon, then a year after they do an actual Forza Motorsport game. So it's nice to see that they're sort of taking a break, but I'm hoping that Forza 8 really sort of, it's a fun quality racer that just packs in a lot of detail and a lot of cool, cars and stuff like that. So we saw that. This new game called Everwild. I wrote this down. This is interesting. It's more of an animated, artistic style game. But I actually like the artistic direction that they're going for here. I don't know what kind of type of game this is because we didn't really see gameplay. It was a trailer. From what I gather, you are basically saving animals in a forest and using magic to somehow, protect them from evil. Something weird like that. Again, I wrote it down because the art direction really grabbed me, and I think it's an interesting concept. But this is something I would have really liked to see gameplay for, and we just didn't get to see gameplay. And we got a new announcement from Obsidian. Now, Obsidian had a few announcements, one of which was an Outer Worlds DLC. Why you would need to announce that at the Series X game reveal event is beyond me. This could have just been a trailer that you released, but whatever. And they announced a new game. It was sort of... It's weird because you play as like really small humans and you're battling bugs. Not my type of style game. It looked interesting, but just a little bit too out there for me personally. I'm not into that. But the game that they did reveal, with just a trailer by the way, no gameplay at all, was this new franchise. I'm expecting it to be called Avowed. This looks like their personal take on the Elder Scrolls series, and does look very interesting. You have swords and magic and all this stuff, really fantasy based. Knowing Obsidian, it's probably going to be really good, and it's probably going to be packed full of detail. Your decisions are going to have a big impact on the narrative. So I'm really this is probably a couple years out, and this is the thing. We have to keep in mind that Microsoft acquired a bunch of studios only 2 years ago. So for them to produce games, especially with how long it takes games to be made now, a lot of these games are probably not coming until 2022 or like 2023, and I expect like Avowed to be like a 2023 or even 2024 game. It's going to take a while for that game to actually release, but it does look interesting. I'm hoping it's not like another situation where it's like Scalebound, which would have been nice, to have that on the Xbox One, but I'm hoping it doesn't get canceled or anything like that. This isn't a third-party, first-party published type of game like that. This is fully in-house development, so it'll probably be real, but I am keeping my eye on that. That was something that does seem very interesting. We actually got gameplay for The Medium. Now, this was announced at the third-party, Series X game reveal event, and, it looked interesting, but I said that it's made by the Blair Witch people, and that's what's keeping me from getting excited here. Blair Witch was a terrible game and ran like dog shit on the Xbox One X, and was an inconsistently graphically type of game. So it looked bad at points, and it looked okay at some other points. The Medium looks really good, though, from what I saw in the trailer. Like, it's a third-person kind of slower horror based, but you're able to switch between two different styles of worlds, where one's sort of this this sort of ghostly world where I guess she's communicating with the spirits of the dead or something like that. She can find different pathways and get around different obstacles by entering different elements of the world. And it reminded me a lot of Dishonored 2. There's this tool that you get in Dishonored 2 which allows you to sort of switch between the past and present on the fly, and that's what this game reminded me of, just as a full gameplay mechanic. So it could be interesting. I wrote that down because I'll give it a chance. You know, I was really disappointed with the Blair Witch. I think these guys did Layers of Evil as well, which I know the first one a lot of people enjoyed, but the second one was like dog shit. So we'll have to wait and see. But I'm hoping this is a good one, a decent one. I feel like these guys are just pumping out too many games too soon, but we'll have to see, okay? And then we got, here's actually a really cool announcement. Crossfire X. So this game I didn't have an immediate interest in until I saw a post that Remedy is actually working with the developers on this game on the single-player campaign. That's right, Remedy Studios, Control, Max Payne, Alan Wake, so on and so forth. When I heard that Remedy was involved, I'm like, oh, this is going to be really cool, because if they're going to be involved in the narrative, in the gameplay mechanics of the game, I think this could be a really solid game. So what this is a first-person kind of sci-fi military shooter almost. It's like almost you're part of a squad or you're part of a private military group or something, and you find this suit, and this suit gives you like special powers and whatnot. And you're able to move fast, you're able to jump on walls and all these things. It looks pretty crazy. It looks really good. The graphics did look very impressive. That is one thing that blew me away with this game. It's just the actual visual representation. And we got some little slices of gameplay in the trailer, but knowing that Remedy is involved, it's probably going to be a very cool single-player campaign. I'm actually really looking forward to trying that out. Out of all the games that they show, that was one that I was actually pleasantly surprised about, and I'm very much interested in, even over Halo Infinite, to be completely honest with you. And then the last thing I want to talk about is Playground Games, the makers behind the Forza Horizon series. Remember, they broke off, not from doing the Horizon games, but a separate team, I guess, within them broke off to work on their own new game. And it turns out they are bringing back the Fable franchise. I have never played a Fable game. I remember when they came out, and I was just never really interested in them. I never really liked the style. I never really cared for the fantasy RPG elements that the game had. Again, I was a very different gamer back then, so I don't know. I'll have to take a look at this one and see, and if it's really something interesting, it looks like something that I'll try out, then I'll give it a shot. But I'm gonna have to wait and see. All we got was a trailer and confirmation, but it's actually kind of cool because I feel it was a decent way to end the show. Was to bring back a franchise that people really love. This is a reboot. Remember that Fable was supposed to have Fable Legends come out. This was a sort of cooperative action type of style RPG. And I actually played Fable Legends. The game was canceled. When I went to the PC Gaming Show for the very first time, they had it demoed at the show floor. And I got to actually play the game. I got to play the game for about 15 and 20 minutes. I thought it was okay, Of course, we didn't know that the game would be canceled. It's very interesting to have played a game that's canceled, and that no one will ever get to experience. So it's one of the it's one of the little things I like to brag about from time to time. It's like, oh, I played a canceled game. But yeah, it's this is interesting to bring back the Fable franchise. It looks like they're going to go back to like the core and make a true Fable game. It's a reboot, so it'll be quite interesting. And Peter Molyneux, was it? He's not involved from what I understand, which is a positive thing or a not so positive thing depending on your particular outlook of the guy. I know he has the most his reputation's a bit weird on the internet. Some people absolutely think he's brilliant, and then there's other people who think he's like a complete asshole. So I'm gonna have to wait and see. But the game itself, I need to see gameplay, but it's nice to know that that's a franchise that people really care about and it's coming back. That is it from the Xbox Series X reveal event. That to me that appealed to me personally. Not much. You know, not really much. The stuff that I'm actually excited for, like Crossfire and Avowed, you know, we didn't really get much information on. Those games are probably years away. And so there wasn't anything that was really particularly mind-blowing. And coming off the PS5 event, you know, where we had a lot of good reveals and we had a lot of gameplay actually shown for the game, you know, listen, like, yeah, not all of them were launch games, but Sony has the element or the benefit of having this great first-party lineup. Like, you know, God of War 5 is coming. You know that we're probably going to see a sequel to, like, Ghost of Tsushima or something like that. Like, you know, like, there's going to be great franchises that are coming, and these studios are capable of producing really interesting new IPs. And so it's, like, interesting to see Microsoft's take on this. Yes, they've made great strides to get first-party studios. Keep in mind that all these games are coming to PC as well. So you don't necessarily need an Xbox to play them. However, not everyone's into PC gaming. So completely, you know, understand the premise of still counting these as exclusives. In fact, I still do. Yeah, I just, like, nothing really blew me away from this event, and that's what I was really hoping to be, is blown away from this event. And I was really hoping that 343 was going to do something spectacular with Halo Infinite, and they didn't really do that at all. It was very familiar. It was very much like Halo with just some exploration elements, like I said before. You know, nothing really groundbreaking. So, I think more importantly is that these consoles are launching, you know, what we have, like 3 months until, like, November, you know, 3-4 months, let's just say, till these consoles launch. We don't have prices and we don't have pre-order dates revealed. Like, we're sitting here at the end of July and we don't have the prices for the Series X or the PS5, and you can't pre-order the console. And Sony just announced that they're ramping up, you know, development of the consoles to be up to 9 or 10 million units. They're trying to get for their launch lineup. Excuse me. So it's just like, you know, it's interesting to me because this generation is it's starting off in a very unique way, you know, and a lot of this has to do with the current pandemic going on in the world, you know, and whatnot, but in most cases, I remember when the PS4 and the Xbox One got announced, it was E3. It was after E3 2013. You were able to pre-order it that next day. We knew the prices of the consoles, and you could go out and pre-order it. And, you know, it's... here we are, you know, 3 months away from the release of these consoles, and we don't have the price and we don't have the pre-order date. What the fuck? You know, it's becoming to be... It's starting to be a big issue, I think, because what you're going to have is all of these people that are sort of running out and buying this console on release. I think these are going to be a much more successful. These are going to be much more successful sales-wise going into, you know, these new consoles than we had with the PS4 and Xbox One. But it's like you're going to have pre-orders open, like a month or two before these consoles release? Like, really? And then what happens if we're going to deal with bullshit from these retailers which say, oh, we oversold our pre-orders, we're not getting as many consoles as we initially thought, so we're going to cancel this and cancel that. And, like, how many people is that going to, like, piss off? So I'm a bit irritated as a consumer that we don't have details on these consoles. And I think that both Sony and Microsoft are waiting for each other to reveal their prices first so that they could maybe undercut them or they could, you know, announce something better. I'm not really sure, but we got nothing. Here we are going into August. We got nothing so far. It's very, 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 very bizarre. And there's no, you know, details whatsoever. Now, getting into the other details, we got a reveal for the PS5 box art. So Sony is going with this sort of, they're going to continue on with the blue cases of the PS4. And they're going to have white banners now instead of the standard blue banner that they have right now for PS4. So it's going to be white for PS5, and it looks, you know, it looks okay. I know a lot of people sit there, and I love the comments whenever they reveal box art. Well, who buys discs anyway? Well, a good number of people still buy the disc. I understand, you know, everyone's all digital. My thought process is pretty simple. If you're going to charge me the same price for a disc versus digital, then I'll buy the disc. I get more for my money with the disc. You know, with digital, it's like you actually... pay more technically for the game when it's a digital copy, because the actual companies don't have to pay for manufacturing costs or distribution or anything like that when it comes to digital distribution. You just pay for the license of the game and it downloads to your console. So if it's the same price, I'd rather buy it on disc because I get ownership rights. You know, I like having my collection. I understand a lot of people don't want discs on their shelves and everything like that, and it's just more convenient because you don't have to go anywhere, but, you know, whatever. The PS5 box art was real. I think it's okay. I would have preferred if they went with a smoke black design. In fact, I designed my own. I'll have it thrown up here just so you can see. I designed my own little mock-up of what I wanted to see the PS5 cases be, and you can see I went with like a smoke black case, and then on top of that, I kept the white banner, but I made the text blue, and this is the same, you know, blue font that we've had with the line on the bottom. You know, they have that little blue line that separates sort of the banner from the actual box art. So I took the same hex code value and made that for the logo in PS4, and I also added this only on PlayStation thing in black. I was going to make that blue as well, but it just looked a little bit off balance. I felt like it would be better if it was black text. Regardless, I like my mock-up a little bit better, if I'm going to be completely honest. I like the black, smoke black cases. I think they look pretty nice, and it would have been a lot different. I think Sony just has a big surplus of these PS4 blue cases around. They're just like, we got to fucking get rid of these somehow. So, and that's why they kept with the same PS4 boxes. But, you know, it's a box. You know, nothing to lose sleep over. Now, on top of that, we got unofficial confirmation, although it's pretty much confirmed at this point, that the Series X box art is going to now just say Xbox instead of Xbox One. Now, what's interesting about this, though, is that on the Xbox One cases, they're proprietary cases. You know, you can't just... the actual Xbox One logo is actually printed on there. You know, it's not like you can just... It's not like it's part of the box art and part of the, you know, the sleeve. It's actually printed on the case. They're proprietary cases. So, you know, I am looking at the box art for, and in particular, Assassin's Creed, or not Assassin's Creed, I'm sorry, Watch Dogs Legion. Watch Dogs Legion had box art that came out, and they showed it at an angle. And if you look at the box art at an angle, it's actually showing the Xbox logo now on the plastic. And then they have the transparent green cases behind it, which basically tells me that these are actually different cases than what we got with the Xbox One. You know, they just say Xbox on the top, and it's not actually printed on the case. They're just going to have nice green transparent cases that are probably going to be the same size. So these cases look a little bit different, and of course we have the optimized for Xbox Series X logo on there, which is very intrusive. And I don't know, like really, you couldn't have found a better way to communicate this than having this big ass badge on the box art. I'm gonna throw up something here. This is official box art, by the way, for FIFA 21. Look at this. This is not a joke. This is actually official box art for how the game's going to look, the standard version of the game, when it ships for Xbox One and Xbox Series X. This big-ass badge, not only is this box art busy as hell already, but you have this big-ass badge, like, oddly placed off-center in the case. The character's screaming at it, you know, when I first saw this, I was like, I had the same reaction as the player. And, you know, it's a bit ridiculous, you know, and I get it, you know, you want people to understand that these games are optimized for the Series X. They will run and look better on this console. No shit, you know, I just feel like there was a better way to explain this. Let me go and get this. Okay. This is a one. Hold on. Alright. Here's Hellblade 2. Or Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice. I wish it was Hellblade 2. I can't wait for that game. Which, by the way, we did get somewhat information on it at the Series X game event, but not much. Anyway, this is the Xbox One version of Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice. You know, and there's a few things to let you know that it's optimized for Xbox One X. You got all this information here on the corner. I actually like this. You know why? Because it tells you immediately what this game supports. And so you know, okay, this game runs in native 4K or upscales to a 4K resolution. You know, that's what this tag does. You know this game supports HDR, and you know this game is Xbox One X enhanced. You know this right off the bat from just these little badges. These are not as intrusive. This game's unopened, as you can see. It's still packaged. Because I played it first on PS4, then I wanted an actual physical copy. But anyway, you can see that it's not intrusive to the actual box art. You know, it just stays up there in the corner. It's a nice balance. Now, imagine all of a sudden we move everything up. All this text right, all these words, we move them up, and then we stick this big-ass green badge right down here that says Xbox Series X Enhanced. It just throws off everything in this fucking case. All the design elements are completely destroyed. Why can't you just put up here, like you did for the Xbox One X Enhanced, why can't you just put, you know, Xbox Series X Enhanced? Why can't you do that? Like, why does it have to be this big-ass badge that just sits there and is obnoxious? It's obnoxious. Yeah, and look, like, developers I know are mandated to put this on there. They have to be. There's no way that any graphic designer would look at this box art for FIFA 21 and say, this is acceptable with this badge up there. Which tells me that Microsoft is mandating this on all of their fucking game cases that have Series X. It's hideous. There's no other way to describe it. It does not need to be this intrusive. And they probably have size requirements on these things, because they probably have to be a certain size so people know this is Series X Enhanced. It's just, it's terrible. There's another mock-up that someone did. I forgot his Twitter handle really quickly, but I'll throw it up here on screen. And I'll get his Twitter handle in a sec. This is a guy, Shay Dawkin, did this case, and this is more traditional for Xbox One, the original Xbox One, excuse me, and then the Xbox 360 cases. But look how nicely balanced this is. This is box art, well, you know, concept box art for Halo Infinite. Just look how nicely balanced everything is. You got your nice 4K and Xbox exclusive logos in the corners. It says Xbox One compatible, Xbox One X enhanced, and he kept the optimized for Series X badge, but he made it smaller and he put it up there in the corner where it's not obtrusive. This is actually nice. It's nice box art. You know? So, and this is just a fan doing it. It's not intrusive at all whatsoever. So it's just, God, I hate this box art. I hate this badge necessarily. It's not just the box art. It's the fucking badge that throws everything off, and it's gonna be on every fucking Xbox game that's coming out for Series X, probably for the next couple years, I would think. You know, I don't think it's gonna be on every game forever, because it just makes no, like, why would you say it's Series X enhanced when we're like at the end of the Series X life cycle? Like, you wouldn't say that. So, but probably for a good 2 or 3 years, we're probably going to have this fucking badge sitting up there in our games. And it's just really, really, really annoying. It just makes me as a collector, I mean, this reminds me of the German ratings, where the fucking rating in Germany takes up like 25% of the box. It's just, it's terrible. So, or is it Australia rating? I think it might be Australia, not German, excuse me. The ratings, you know, people know when they see them. So it just reminds me of that situation where it's just incredibly intrusive and throws off the design language of everything they're trying to accomplish here. And I just, there had to be a better solution here. And it's funny because everyone is screaming at them, like literally, what the fuck? Everyone is like seriously annoyed, and there's no word from, again, I'm sure, you know, they're not going to change it this late in the life cycle. It'd be nice, but this is how our games are going to look. So the box games are going to look, if you're into buying retail disc-based games, this is how it's going to look. You have this big-ass badge. So I digress. We'll move on from here. So the last thing I wanted to discuss was the next-gen price increase. This has been sort of the interim discussion. Now, I think it is EA. EA, of all companies, of course it had to be EA. EA proves time and time again. It's always hilarious to me because they don't understand why they're like the worst company in America, but then they do this shit and they're always the first ones to do this shit. So EA has said that for their sports games. I think it is FIFA 21 and you know, all their upcoming other sports games, NFL 21, so on and so forth. That they're going to be charging you $70, $69.99 for the PS5 and Series X versions. Now, we have to keep in mind that usually, you know, if we look back at history, we've had $10 price increments increasing per generation. And so it was like $50 with the PS2, and then with the $60 with the PS3, but it stayed at $60 all through the PS3 and 360 life cycle, and all through the PS4 and Xbox One life cycle. Now, you know, since 2005, 2006, you know, minimum wage has gone up and everything like that. So things are a lot, inflation and whatnot, things are a lot more affordable, you know, these days. And but things have also increased in price to reflect that. Now, games have seemingly become more expensive to make, but the price has always stayed the same for people purchasing. And so it sort of begs the question, have we reached the peak at what consumers are expected to pay for brand new video games? You know, I always think about my friends in the UK. They pay the equivalent of $80 here in the US for new games to release. Like the prices for games in the UK, from what I understand, are astronomically high. You know, again, $80 equivalent to what we're paying here, which is, you know, $20 more than what the current prices are. So it's interesting. Now, Ubisoft has said that they're not going to be increasing the price of their next-gen games. So as far as we know, EA is the only publisher that's doing this for their sports games. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Are we going to start seeing $70 games become much more common? You know, I'll be honest with you guys, I don't really buy games on release anymore. It's very rare for me to buy games on release. I have been buying, you know, I bought Last of Us 2 and I bought Ghost of Tsushima. I haven't played them yet, but I bought them on release. The reason was because we're ending the current generation of consoles, and so I'm picking up sort of the last few games. I'm going to get Destroy All Humans, I'm going to get Mafia Definitive Edition as well, and a Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 remake. I'm going to get those games as well. Because we're at the end of this generation, so I'm going to pick up some of the last remaining games that I plan to get for these consoles, and then I'm going to start focusing on building my PS5 and Series X collection when those consoles drop. And I want to do my, you know, of course, my end of the generation collection video. That's going to be coming up at a later time. So, I honestly, I don't buy games on release, like rarely, you know. So for me, the next gen price increase, if it does happen, is not really going to be affecting me in some way, because what I basically do is I'll buy, like, you know, a bunch of games when they're on sale. And so I'll wait till these games get around 30 or 40 bucks, and then I'll buy like a bunch, you know, like 3 or 4 or 5 even, and then I'll have them sit there basically until I get ready to play them. And I have a ton of games. Like, I just got to playing Gears of War 5. I just started this past weekend. I have literally had that game like forever. And I actually got a review code of that game, you know, as well, from Microsoft. But I did buy it later on disc because, again, I want it on disc. I'm trying to build a collection here. But I had it on disc for a very long time. I have a lot of other games. You saw Hellblade, you know, Senua's Sacrifice. Yes, I played it first on PS4. I have it digitally on PS4, but I wanted the case, and I wanted it on disc. That is still sealed. I'll probably open it and play it again on Xbox One, or I guess Xbox Series X, before Hellblade 2 comes out. But, you know, I'm just going to have to wait and see whenever that happens. Like, I have no problem keeping games wrapped in the cellophane until I get to them, just because of the way I play games, you know? I don't hop from one game to the other. I sit down, I play something until completion, or until I've just had enough and I can't bear it anymore, and then I move on to the next game. And that's just how I've always been, you know? I get through my games that way. And, yeah, like the Master Chief Collection, you know, that's open, but I never once put the disc in my Xbox console. I just haven't got to it yet. So, you know, the price increases aren't honestly going to affect me that much if they do happen. And it does make sense to me, you know. At the same time, I think that we've sort of almost hit, or are very close, if not already, hit that barrier to what consumers are expected to pay for a game. I think that you're going to get to a point where consumers say, this is just too expensive, or this is just ridiculous. Because most people don't actually sit there and, play games like I do. They don't sit there and keep something wrapped in the cellophane for 6 months to a year. They'll sit there and they'll play something, once they get it immediately. And they'll buy these games on release. And I just feel like $70 is like, ooh, that gets people, second guessing their purchasing decisions a lot more than $60 did, But honestly, when you adjust it for inflation, games are still cheaper today than they ever were before, And again, we went through 2 generations now of the same price for these games. And if the next gen price increase happens, I'm hoping it does deter some developers, although probably not, from putting in loot boxes and different monetization elements and things like that. I hope it helps people take that out, but probably not. We're probably going to still have loot boxes and all this shit, in our games. So, anyway, those are my thoughts. I think I covered pretty much everything. Yeah, I know Jeff Keighley messed with the PS5 controller earlier last week. I watched that. Looks cool, looks interesting. That's gonna be something I'm gonna have to wait to have in my hand before I give you guys my full impressions. But yeah, there's pretty much nothing left for these studios to do except reveal the release date and the price. And I think that we'll have these consoles probably launch, a week or 2 weeks apart from each other. I still think that Microsoft is gonna launch first, though. I still think that Series X is gonna launch before the PlayStation 5. And I still think that Series X is going to end up being cheaper than the PlayStation 5 will. Although I do expect that these consoles will probably end up being around the same price. There was the rumor of the Xbox Series S, which would be like the sort of digital version, less powerful, targeted at 1080p and 1440p gaming. That still could happen. However, I think if it was going to happen on release, we would have had an announcement at today's event, and Microsoft said prior, no hardware announcements, no talk about hardware, this was just about games, and it pretty much was. So, we better get the prices for these consoles and the release dates and the pre-order information by, like, mid-August at the latest. If we go through, like, the end of August, and we still don't have these fucking prices and pre-order information available for these consoles, this is going to be a huge red flag. I think that it's already going to be hard to get these consoles on release. I don't care how many units Sony is ramping up for the PS5. It's going to be hard to get these consoles on release. It is. And it's a really different world out there than it was in 2013. It's a really different world. And gaming has taken off just immensely. And it's become this huge, a much larger cultural phenomenon than it already was back before this generation started. So, we're going to have to wait and see, but I'm hoping we get these prices soon and pre-order information soon because it's a bit worrisome at this point. So, I'll talk with you guys later. Thank you all for watching. Let me know what your thoughts are on everything that I mentioned. I know it was a lot to digest, but I just wanted to get my opinions out there. All right, so have a good one. I'll talk with you guys later.